not necessarily, and you probably could have done, like, got the correct amount of polys to what this would have been subdivided, but I didn't do that. So I'm just going to select my vertices. Ooh. Select the vertex again. Oh, sorry. Let's just hide that. Select the vertex. Hold out. Scale it again. Just so I know that these are definitely flat. Cool. So what we now need to sort of, before we go any further up, let's have a look at this sort of ear bit, wherever that is. Let's try and figure out where this is on his actual body. Cool, so this is a pretty good. So I would probably guess that that little eyelet, the bottom is probably hard to tell really. Probably curves up and goes down, so it's probably at the bottom of the eyelet. And it doesn't get to the top, it goes about, looks like maybe 2/3 up. And that little cylinder's right in the middle. So what I will do is, I'm just going to create a plane for reference, pull this up. Just going to snap this to the bottom vertice. So now I've just got this gear that just show me where the bottom of the eyelet is. So I can actually add that to the reference. So now I can't select it. And I can start figuring out how I might want to sort of add this in. So got our outer head. Cool. So it sort of goes here. And let's duplicate that up. We could probably do this. Probably could figure out the radius. So if I just actually freeze the transformations on that and bring that up. 12. So what that's going to be. So probably about 8. Roughly. It's about 2/3 maybe. We're just guesstimating. So we can add this to it should actually already be in it. So we can sort of say we've guesstimated our, I'm actually going to put our finished bits in a layer as well. Just so I can also put that on reference and leave that there. Cool, so we now have got this. Like, I use geometry as guides all the time because it's just easier to snap things to. You can sort of see that our gear is not really as aligning as good as we'd want, because we kind of want to put, it's probably only a little hole, so we probably almost get away with just having that, but a shy thinner, but these edges are pretty close to what we need. Cool, so let's now figure out how we can create this little eye hole. Where's that? That's the inner head. Okay, so let's put that on make live. I don't think that snaps. That shouldn't snap to it. I can't remember if it does, and it does. Yeah. So it still stays stuck to it. So I'm actually going to pull these up and sort of move these around so they're a bit more in a useful space for me. That's what we can do is actually see what happens if I go mesh smooth and add a subdivision on into that. I'm actually just going to check. Just press 3 on that. I'm just going to check what I've done first. It's not doing anything crazy, so I'm just going to go assign existing, and I've got my phone. Let's turn my wireframe shading off. Here I've got like a tiny bit of creasing here. It's very hard to see, but once the texture's on that, you probably will not see that. And it's possibly because we don't have an actual edge here, so it's probably forcing on itself. See how it's changing there? It's more just to sort of check what we can get away with. It's not quite. This is where we probably could have kept it as a cylinder. So we'll see if we find out if I messed up. Just relax this so it's sitting on top. I know it's quite high poly at the moment, but we really want to make sure that we get that curve in. It's not doing anything funny. Oh, and you probably could have just like beveled this, and you probably re-topo this quite quickly. And we're on 40 minutes, so let's get a move on, I think. So I'm gonna select my faces. Now we have got some sort of extra edges which are a bit more used to us. So we need to make an edge here. We don't want to, we need to make it in a way that we're not having to use a bevel as well. So the reason why I'm doing this as well, because I also need to sort of map out. I probably overthink it a bit too much, but definitely want that edge there. And I'm just going to pick my, so I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's put this down to 4. I'm probably making quite a big mess of this. This is why you always plan stuff. You just don't wing it. Anyway, it's less of less of that, I guess. Cool. So I'm just going to make that live now. And a quad draw. And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to make sure that these edges are correct. But essentially I need an edge loop in here. because when that gets smoothed, I need a piece of geometry in there that because I'm just trying to avoid beveling stuff that I don't need to. So if I can get a nice tight geometry in there, I probably actually need to bring this out a bit further. I'm just trying to keep as much as I can with my existing topology. So I can just, basically I'm creating a sort of little patch. Cool, so let's get that nice and tight in there without it joining. So the next thing is how we're going to attach this. So we've got that attached there, that attached there, and that will go to there. That one will go to there, that will go to there. So let's just check our edge loops. So you can see I'm effectively just making a quad draw patch. So I'm not effectively editing my geometry. It's kind of a more non-destructive. Where's that? Why can't I see that? Let's just hide that, whatever that is. Go back to our quad draw. That can go to there. See, now this is where it can become a little bit tricky, because now we've got that, but that's a bit of a stretch. So what have we done up there? So that one actually goes down to there. That. Okay, cool. So this gets a little bit risky. So we're working on like multiple curved surfaces, so it's can get a little bit tricky. So we want to try and keep it as clean as possible. So we just made this little patch. And yeah, we could probably just do the same. through here. Like that. Not necessarily going to see that bit, but we do want to make sure that our we've got matching geometry on either side. So yeah, sorry if there are better ways on doing this. I'm sure if I had modelled this first, I'd probably find a different way to do it. But okay, cool. So let's leave that as that. So we've got our little hole, and they are kind of rounded. So I completely forgot about that. So let's press 3. Turn live surface off first. So obviously this is a bit too tight, so we can actually loosen up on this corner bit. Can preview. Make sure you just slip the sort of curve. And it's quite soft actually. That's why you should always follow your reference, because we would have probably made it a bit too sharp. I'm just going to try and match that down here as well. Let's just pull this down. I do try and make these a little bit quicker, but I don't seem to be very good at making quick tutorials. Ooh, make sure you just slip the vertice. Cool. If we turn our quadra off, now we can see it's much rounder. And what we will do as well, select our, but because we're kind of still on a curve, we probably want to change our transform to component. And you can see how we can sort of straighten that out there. See, it's only a slight amount, but let's undo that. See how it's slightly, but just a bit wonky. And because that's in the Y, we can just do that way. Cool, so we've made sort of our patch, and we know that it's matching these bits. And it's about roughly the correct size. Let's try and actually get this face bit done in under an hour, so we've got 10 minutes. So just going to press 1 and unsmooth that. And just go to face. I'm going to delete all the polygons that I've created there. Press Control 1, just check. Let's select both of those first and Control 1. Let's just select all the polygons. Object mode, just unsmooth them both and just press. So we actually don't have matching. So we need another edge loop in here. Or we can actually, because that's only in the Y, that's not contributing to the actual curve of the roundness. It should be okay. We can control delete and remove that. As long as we keep these aligned. I'm snapping in the Y. Cool. And it doesn't matter that it goes through because we're going to go through and we're going to cap this off in here anyway. So it will just disappear like it never existed. So I'm going to select both of these and go edit mesh. And nope, I'm going to go mesh combine. Or add. What you can do, you can select edit mesh, merge the center, and that will probably work on most of these. So I'll just select them separately, go around, and you really want the ones that are kind of like really on top of each other. Oh, not HG. For ones like these, because I didn't really check where they were being pulled to, I'm actually going to use my target weld. So I know this bit's correct, but probably not that bit. So I'm just going to target weld these. And you can see it looks a little bit funny because we have the shader. We don't have the shader on this, so if we just click assign existing material and go file, then you can also see that it's kind of, it looks faceted. See that because it's come from a different mesh. And like when you smooth it, it'll go away. But what we can do, we can select, because all this edge is a smooth edge, we can go to our mesh display and soften edge. So now it's kind of gone. It'll look a little bit crinkly in areas, but it should be okay. Cool. So let's finish this off by selecting all this. Let's extrude it inwards. It's hard to say how deep that is. It's probably not very deep. Guessing it's supposed to be like a little ear or something. And we can just control E and extrude again. We'll just slightly pull it in. Now we need to sort of finish off these edge loops. So we can go bridge here, because we don't really see in there. Oh, not multi-cut. Probably can be not as pretty. In fact, no, let's do it properly. This is bad. Okay, cool. So select our edges. I'm just going to scale this down so it's flat. Just going to scale it again so it comes in a bit. I'm just going to do that again, and I'm just going to keep doing this until we're all the way at the bottom. And before doing that last bit, I will just select edit mesh and merge the center. I'm just going to do that for all of these. It's not the most perfect geometry in here, but I don't mind. It's going to be fairly hidden, so I'm just going to press G to repeat command, and now we filled in that hole. So looking at this, it's kind of still kind of soft. So select this edge loop. Because we've done this all nicely, we can select our edge loops. Looks like bevel. And you can see how it's going to look by pressing 3. That's a bit too tight. And you don't have to follow it. You can kind of make your own thing if you really want. I'm just trying to match the reference as close as possible. So, ooh, look at that. We've got some nasty stuff going on in here. So we'll have to figure it out. It's all lumpy. I don't know how that's happened. Okay, so let's see what's going on in there. Possibly where I've done something wrong. Let's smooth this again. Let's smooth that to 2. Let's overly smooth that. Cool. And let's say this is probably not the best way to do it. Actually, thinking about it, there's probably other ways I probably should have done it. But I've committed to it now. You can see it's kind of, let's go with the quad draw. And let's relax that on top. Not sure what's happened there. Maybe I just missed on, I think it's where I might have relaxed it before, but I didn't have it on the smooth. But if you're making this from a cylinder and just sticking to the cylinder, you probably won't have half these problems that I've just had now. It's probably because I've probably overcomplicated the whole process right now. So you can see this is a way to do it. It may not be the way. Like I said, there's methods for it. There's no set way. All that matters at the end of the day, if you've got decent, if it's being something that needs sculpted, you need decent subdivision levels on it. So when it does get subdivided, it doesn't look too faceted, and you need good topology so you can create the edge loops. Other than that, if whatever route you get to doing that, it doesn't matter so much, to be honest. As long as you get it done and it looks good. Half the stuff you won't even see this in when it's textured anyway, and it probably might even add to it a little bit. Like I say, I've probably made this a little bit more complicated than it needs to be. But I just kind of like to make sure that I keep with... Cool, so that's kind of... We've got that sort of thing around here, but I think that's going to happen because we haven't finished off the eyes. But you can see that now we've got a really lumpy face. So it's always good to keep an eye on those things. And our sort of ear hole's looking nice. Obviously the geometry's not amazing in there, but we can live with that, I think. And we're not going to make a... We can just stick a cylinder in there. And I will just do that. For the case of this, it's already... if you want to, you probably could quite easily... model that in, but for the sake of the time, I don't want to be taking too much of your time. So, and it's quite a hidden feature, so it's not like something you really see. We can take a guesstimation, and that's probably in the middle. Hard to tell in some of this reference. Like, you might have better reference, so don't necessarily just use mine. You can... So I'm just going to assume that's kind of in the middle.